spirit. When he say in the spirit, when you read Ephesians 6 verse 12, when he gave us the armor of God, in verse 16 he said we should pray in the spirit. Into Yanum for Pentecostals next Christmas, because say pray in the spirit. There's a tongues. Goes go to power. Yeah, I know more combat search. He's praying in spirit. Wrong concept. Because worship is an act of service. So worship is something that you must act for us to do. God sees what is inside the human body. It is not what is so physical. So worshiping God in spirit is the right attitude or the right place to worship God. And in truth, it simply means His word. See, Jesus has brought us the true worship, because the one that the Jews had was just a shadow of the reality. So we have the best opportunity. So most of our quotations, you will see that we worship God through Jesus Christ. So He's the best place that we can worship, because His words are true. And the Bible instructs us that it is the word of God that instructs us how any act of worship should be done. And it might be done how God has instructed it. And that means we are worshiping God in truth. And I said last time that you can't just worship God in spirit alone. No, you must worship Him in spirit and in truth. So what we saw in the New Testament was that whatever the church came together, so we are talking about a corporate worship, not an individual worship. And you know the worship them are any friend worship. It's about a corporate worship. What the church is coming together to do. They are sorry not ever be. That is what we mean by a corporate worship. So we saw them coming together to pray. We saw them coming together to sing. We saw them coming together to partake of the Lord's Supper. We saw them coming together to give their means. And we saw them coming together to teach themselves. And mind you, it is not about a private prayer. And you are talking about the corporate worship. So we want to start with prayer. Unfortunately, our world today, they see prayer as a point when you are suffering, where you need to shout to God and He responds and then listen to you. And then now come Bible, as a Bible and say problem to the solution in say na answer naba. Unfortunately, they forget that prayer in itself is a worship. You can't sorry you chimu. You di obu ni anidie. Ma abre ne ho ase e ko Yakobon. It is say obo Yakobon now say I command, I decree. What's it? Because the prayer itself is a sacrifice. The Bible tells us that the prayer is like an incense to God. The empire bonnet said you shall Yakobon here. It's member na empire nya da. Na wo ka say duham we nyiram to one. And there are instances in the Bible where God has told us the attitude that we must be in before our prayer will be accepted. Opportunity, I would say, no, but it's an act of verse 1. Paul said that my heart's desire for Israel is that they really get to know about God. They wouldn't perish. It was so we saw that the prayer is something that you are pleading from God. In that act of worship, you are just pleading to God that He accepts your proposal. At the end of the day, though it is an incense, but then it is still pouring our hearts to God. So prayer can be defined as a pouring out of our heart to God, to a crying out to God. Jonah chapter 2 say, "Na mi sufre erade ebra na oda aboa na yem." So enye su say eba obi sha see you. No, I told you that our worship is spiritual. It's when you bring carnality into worship, you get it all wrong. Say enede I sorry anything mu be obi be too for house akore de na futu no nyede. Obi be too for dia ode ya de fire man sama wati. It is not about the messenger, it's about the message. So imagine any kind of physique akore de as a want to na tade as a nede wa as wa mobile. Oba carnality nko na de bae. You are wrong, because we are here to listen to a message that will break our hearts. So we need to be very careful as humans, because we are humans. God has already told us that He is spirit, and worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. Therefore, we should take all things that are carnal outside from us and offer a spiritual incense to God. Prayer also becomes coming before the throne of God. and also it becomes a spiritual service with our fruit of our lips that we offer to God. So prayer is first of all an act of worship and an opportunity for intercession to ask something from God. But unfortunately, in our world today, we see people seeing prayer differently, not even as an act of worship, but we've told them that prayer is an act of worship. And unfortunately, we think that whatever is from us is what we should pray. We shouldn't even pray for others. But when you see the lifestyle of Jesus, most of his prayers, he did not pray about himself. Though it was when he was getting closer to be crucified, that was when he went 3 times to ask God the Father if that cup can pass over him. But he said, even according